So how can you say this to the public without proof? Show the proof of what you think you would have actually had. Show where the dots would have been connected to get you to where we ended up. Please. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so the now police chief did an interview with Nate Enton with Idaho News. There was only a few pieces that I wanted to touch on, so I went ahead and took the clips out. Let's just go ahead and get started. This is the first one. He's basically asked what he thinks about how this ended up in a plea deal instead of going to trial. Notice he has questions.
Just in my experience in law enforcement, I always know that that is a possibility in any case, those things to come up. In this particular case, as we got closer and closer to trial, that the idea of that happening was beginning to fade in my mind. But when I heard that that was on the table and that things were progressing in that way, it's especially the way that it ended, correct? I mean, he pled guilty to all charged counts. There was no bargaining. The only thing that was taken off the table was the death penalty. And quite frankly, as Prosecutor Bill Thompson has said, in a way, he still got the death penalty because now he will spend the rest of his life and he will die in prison. And so as far as an outcome goes, I was very much in support of it.
He tries to act as if he's not surprised by this, but just like in the other interview that we went over on a live about a week or so ago that he did with another person, the way that his inflections are with the words that he says definitely points to the fact that he was surprised about the way that this went. He has those questions too. So I wonder what he really truly thinks. And, when is he going to stop with this media answer and just truly put his true opinion out there? Because obviously this is very watered down.
What was your thought knowing that, the DNA tracing him to the garbage can and all that?
Yeah, it actually was a huge piece of evidence, certainly in this case. Our investigators have continually said that we believe even if we didn't have that DNA evidence, that we were on the right track and we would have eventually found him either way. However, that certainly was a gigantic piece of evidence that led us to him quickly, or much more quickly than the other potential routes. So it was wonderful to have that. When we learned that we had all those puzzle pieces coming together, one of the last pieces of the puzzle was the DNA match. It just all started to make sense. And so it really picked up steam and we moved forward very quickly.
Now, this one's always interesting because they've acted like this since the sentencing, but we know for a fact that that's not true. Even before the Moscow record started releasing and we started reading all of these supplemental narratives, right? There was literally nothing that was pointing them to Bryan Kohberger. And we have to also remember, not only were they looking 20, 25 miles in the opposite direction towards Troy and Kendrick and towns like that, which is the opposite direction of Pullman, okay? They didn't have anything about Bryan Kohberger in their system, anything that pointed to him, literally nada, until the feds called them on 12/19. See, a lot of people really thought that maybe they at least had the tip from WSU when it came to spotting Bryan's car in the parking lot and also having it in their system. But then it turns out whenever Chief Jenkins started doing interviews, he admits that they never turned it in because it was the wrong year. See, there was an internal bolo sent out before anything was ever told to the public about what they were looking for when it comes to the car. And whenever WSU found this, it was because the internal bolo was sent over to them. Well, the internal bolo and the public bolo was a different year set. So they never turned it in. And Chief Jenkins is adamant that they didn't. As a matter of fact, he makes it really clear that the fact that Chief Fry didn't want their assistance like he had for so many other dozens of cases was really odd. And we have to remember that we're hearing that that was basically how it was from the beginning, before Chief Fry even got back to Moscow. Because remember, he was hours away whenever the 911 call came in, okay? So whenever Chief Jenkins called him after hearing the news and asked how they could help, for the first time in years. Years. No, we're good. What? So you need the help of the feds, you need the help of ISP, Latah County, other places, but not Pullman, not WSU, who you've had assist you forever. According to Chief Jenkins, they're saying in Pullman, the saying for WSU is to always have your tanks at half a tank for the patrol cars, just in case Moscow needs them for something. So my brain honestly just can't let go of the fact that for some reason Chief Fry knew off the bat not to involve Pullman, and then look where we ended up. And not because of anything that Moscow PD was looking at. Again, they had an entire other suspect before 12/19. That phone call from the feds, they shelved everything that they were doing and only focused on what the feds told them. And that's not just this lead suspect that they shelved. They also shelved all of the other unknown male DNA that was tested at the house. They never found out who it belonged to. It all just stopped there. I don't understand that. So knowing that, I would really, really, really challenge this chief of police to explain just what you think you would have eventually had, considering WSU never turned in his car. You didn't have a single tip about him prior to his arrest and the announcement of his arrest. You didn't have him in any of the cell phone data when it came to the geofencing warrant, when it came to AT&T, when it came to Verizon, when it came to T-Mobile, when it came to any of the things that you did. You didn't have anything about him. So how can you say this to the public without proof? Show the proof of what you think you would have actually had. Show where the dots would have been connected to get you to where we ended up. Please.
This case, we never found the weapon that was utilized, the knife that was utilized. So that is somewhere in existence, and I don't know if we'll ever find it. Certainly, if we get any kind of information where we could follow up and try to find that item, we would love to do that. But other than that, yeah, I don't know if we're going to have much else to go on.
Do you think there may have been another knife too?
All the evidence showed from the investigation that we were dealing with one singular knife.
This part is just a reminder of something that I really need to go back over. So whenever we were going over the Moscow PD records, and right now this tangent situation that I'm about to go on is just based off of memory, okay? The way that it looked was that they finally sort of acknowledged that the Amazon history did show that the sheath that Bryan Kohberger would have ordered did have a USMC logo and that it was leather. That was in one of the documents. That's actually one of the pieces that I've been asking for from the beginning. Like, why will you not tell us that it at least has the same logo? Why is that not just a detail that you can give us at this point? It didn't really make any sense why something so redundant yet important was being withheld. I feel like that was something that could have solidified a lot of things to a certain point anyway. So now we have this document where it's talking about how Gunderson went in through the purchase history on Kohberger's Amazon account to repurchase the items that he purchased, which included the K-bar, the USMC logo on the leather sheath, the sharpener, and then these like vegan supplements. They keep bringing up these vegan supplements in these records. And then we also have where whenever they went into the home in Pennsylvania, a knife was on the very first part of the inventory report that came out of Pennsylvania from, the list of everything that they took. Then we have in the inventory report that is in the new Moscow documents, they have a knife and they have a sharpener and they have no sheath. Okay? Just follow me for a second. Because it honestly makes no sense. This is like the one puzzle piece we've been asking for, but they're not connecting them. So it makes no sense, okay? So they have the knife and a sharpener with no sheath when it comes to what they're claiming they have in evidence when it comes to what Kohberger would have actually had on him in way of this Amazon purchase. They have a sheath at the crime scene that apparently has this logo. And they've been telling us, oh, but Kohberger made this purchase on Amazon. He made this Amazon purchase, okay? So how do they have a K-bar and a sharpener. A sheath over here. But this K-bar is not the one that goes with that sheath, even though this sheath has a logo. I'm not comprehending. So I'm going to dig more into those documents because that's how it lays the story out. That's how it lays the story out. We went over it live. We sat there and we tried to think about what the heck was happening, and that's how it laid it out. But it's really difficult to try to figure out exactly what's what whenever they're also telling us that Gunderson went in through the purchase history, repurchased the exact same items, and then also entered them into evidence, right? Because at some point during one of the past hearings, Hippler mentioned having to have a secure box for the K-bar. And again, this was really confusing because they have been telling us, just like he just told us again, they have never found it. Now, a couple of weeks ago, well, probably like a month or so ago, because it's, been about a month since this whole thing even happened with the plea deal and stuff like that. There was a community publicly announced search for the K-bar in a certain part of the area, and nothing came of it because they're still claiming that they don't have it. So that's why this portion of this is a lot more confusing because, again, we have in the inventory that they took a knife in. They're telling us that his purchase contained a sharpener. They're telling us that it's missing a sheath, basically, and there's a sheath over here, but the knife that they found that apparently goes with the Amazon purchase is not the one that was used during the commission of the crime. And I'm just not, it's very, how? How are we where we are? That's why I want to go back through all these interviews and try to go as deep into the information as we can, because these pieces should be connecting if he's the man. And they're not connecting, and they're still telling us that he's the man. And I'm sorry. No, there's no way that they're just going to get away with leaving things so blatantly, ignorantly unanswered on purpose. And what's really disgusting is the way that Bill Thompson basically blames getting no answers whatsoever on some federal profiler that basically was like, oh, it just won't make any sense, so there's just no point. What? What? He is passing the buck, passing the blame. It's disgusting. So that's going to be one of the interviews that we go over soon. But I just wanted to give you a reaction to these little clips here. Instead of going through the whole thing, I'm just going to take out the things that are important, that are worthy of discussion, and that's it. But I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.